particular about humanities or the path you took through college that gives you an advantage over others in perhaps a different career?
For example, think about oil. Like that's really relevant to everybody, right? If the geopolitical conflicts continue in the Middle East, or they get worse, or they get better, what happens then? And as an humanities major, you kind of, I think you think about that in a much different way than just a profit and loss statement, right? You know, if you're a business student and you can write out a balance sheet and tell you what each part of the three things says, which I still have no idea, you think about things in a lot different way and a lot less creatively, I think, than somebody with a humanities degree. Like I was immediately when somebody talks about the Middle East, I think about religion, like not oil, not money, not war. I think about religion, and I think that if you only have that business background, you kind of lack that diversification in your team.
Yeah, I think that goes to what Laura was saying earlier about competencies, right? The ability to listen, to be curious, to be responsive.
But
Eric, go
a
ahead.
big part of that is very early in your career, you're trying to demonstrate skills which are very generic. Am I a critical thinker? Am I going to be able to do get through some kind of an assignment effectively? Being able to demonstrate that so you're going to apply for a job, let's say with an energy analyst, and you're an English major, and you really want this job, you're really interested in the work. And so the question is, how do you differentiate yourself from other applicants about your capacity to do the job? That's a problem that you immediately have to distinguish yourself between other applicants, and you are going to have an approach about having how to do that. Many of the kinds of skills that Laura talked about, you will then translate. Can I book up? Can I come into this interview better informed than anyone else? When I book up, am I going to be able to make decisions about what kind of things are relevant, what kinds of things are not? Am I going to be able to make connections between energy, economics, science, and the environment, and be able to talk about the issue in that kind of a frame? Those are the ways that you distinguish yourself, and you have nothing else because you're 22 and you don't have any experience that really anybody cares about. I mean, you care about it because you're doing all these things and they're exciting and fun, but from the perspective of the person who's making a huge decision to go one path with a bunch of money, which is the salary, you need to distinguish the fact that you're the best bet. And those kinds of things are going to be much, much more distinguishing than, an internship or some very, very specific kind of knowledge that may not have so much applicability.
Can I just say, I wonder if for the other people who've hired people, whether they would say that being able to ask an interesting question, I mean, a question that you really care about the answer to, that somebody can feel that's true, goes a long way to me, that it's not just this kind of, spiel, but somebody who like stops and says, I never thought about it that way before. Is it, do you think this is a part of the reason that this happens? Or whatever, whatever the question is, it's like you have to be able to actually sit and think when you're in the interview. But that goes a long way to me, that somebody actually is curious and is able to, to pose a question that gets me to think. It means a lot to me as someone who's hiring.
Absolutely. I just very, very quickly, I had a recent experience where I'm hiring someone in my company to be a producer in my company, and I had a glowing recommendation for this young woman, and she had an incredible resume. She's done a million things, and she came. I was all set to hire her, sight unseen practically, and she came in. She sat down and she started selling herself. She started telling me what she had done. She started telling me, how she would do the project I was hiring her for, and did you talk to this person? And did you talk? Just behind it was sort of, see how much I know already. And I was just completely turned off. Within 5 minutes, I decided I can't work with this person. Then the next person came in with a much less experience, much less sort of, and just talked to me as a human being, was just himself and was just asking questions, curious about what we do, and how we do it. And I just had a human connection with this person. I said, that's the person I want to spend the next 2 years with doing this project. I like this person, and I like the way he thinks. And yes, maybe he, worked in a completely different field, but he clearly has a brain and sensitivity, and and humanity, and he got the job.